The stars were calm that night. Space was quiet. Earth spun under a blanket of darkness, half lit by the silver glow of the moon. Astronomers were watching the skies, as they always did, mapping stars, checking orbits, tracking the silent dance of planets. It was a normal night, until something appeared. At first, it was just a shadow, a shape that was not supposed to be there. It moved against the backdrop of stars, blocking them for a few seconds before they returned to view. In an observatory in Chile, a young scientist named Omar blinked at his screen. The telescope feed had picked up a strange object in the Kuiper belt, the icy outer edge of the solar system. He frowned and zoomed in. The object was big. Too big, he called his supervisor. Within minutes, more telescopes were pointed in the same direction. Observatories in Australia, South Africa, and Hawaii confirmed it. The shadow was not a glitch. It was real, and it was moving. The first photos were blurry, but the scale was impossible to miss. This thing was massive, larger than the city of New York. It was shaped like nothing human engineers had ever built. It had no visible engines, no solar panels, no antennas, and yet it was coming closer. In Houston, at NASA's Deep Space Network control room, alarms began to sound. The object was traveling at a steady speed. Not too fast, not too slow. It was as if it wanted to be seen. They tried sending a signal. No answer. By morning, the news had leaked. Every channel on Earth showed the same grainy image, a black shape against the stars, a dark curve like the edge of a sleeping giant. People called it an asteroid at first, then a comet. But when the image sharpened, the truth was undeniable. It was a ship. Not human. In a cafe in London, a retired Navy officer named Elena Vos watched the news in silence. She had seen warships before, but never like this. Warships, she knew, were made to fight. This one was made to end fights before they began. Its size alone was a message. Around the world, fear began to spread. Stock markets fell. Cities held emergency meetings. Social media burned with theories: aliens, invasion, first contact. Some people celebrated. Others prepared for war. In the quiet hours of the night, while most of the world slept, the alien warship reached the edge of the solar system. It stopped near Neptune, holding position like a predator waiting just outside the reef. It still didn't send a message. The United Nations called an emergency session. Leaders argued for hours. Should they respond? Should they hide? Should they attack? But the truth was simple. Earth had no weapon that could even scratch something that size. And the warship was patient. In a dark room in Washington, a general stared at the latest scan. The ship was not made of any known metal. Its hull absorbed radar like a black hole, swallows light. It had no obvious weapons. Yet the energy readings were beyond anything humans had ever recorded. The general tapped his desk with a single thought repeating in his head: if it fires, we're done. Then, without warning, the ship moved again. It crossed the orbit of Neptune in a smooth, slow arc. It was heading inward, toward Saturn. Toward Earth. NASA sent another signal, this time in multiple languages. This time using mathematics, the so-called universal language. Still, there was no reply. In Tokyo, school children were told to go home early. In Moscow, military satellites tracked every inch of the ship's movement. In New Delhi, the Prime Minister gave a calm speech on television, telling citizens there was no reason to panic. But in private, every leader was panicking. In space, the International Space Station turned its cameras toward the alien ship. The crew floated in silence, watching as the black shadow grew bigger on their monitors. It looked almost alive. The days passed, and the warship moved closer. Then something unexpected happened. It stopped again, this time between Saturn and Jupiter. From that distance, it could see Earth as a pale blue dot. And for the first time since it appeared, it sent a signal, a single sound, A deep, slow tone that lasted exactly 10 seconds. In New York, a radio operator listened to the signal on loop, his skin crawling. It wasn't random noise. It was deliberate. In Canberra, scientists noticed something else. The tone was not just sound. It carried a pattern, a pulse hidden in the frequency. It was like a heartbeat. People wanted answers. The media gave the warship a name, the Black Leviathan. Religious groups declared it a sign from God. Others said it was a warning. A countdown. No one could agree on what it meant. Then came the strange lights from the surface of the alien ship. Faint blue lines began to glow, running like rivers across its dark hull. They moved in patterned circles, spirals, shapes no one could recognize. Astronomers tried to decode them. Mathematicians mapped the lines, and still, there was no reply to Earth's messages. But deep inside the Pentagon, a small group of intelligence officers noticed something alarming. The patterns were changing. Slowly. Every 12 hours, the lights shifted into a new design. And when they overlaid the designs, they formed a map. Not of space. Of Earth. In a hidden command center in Geneva, the head of the UN Security Council whispered the question everyone feared. Why would an alien ship need a map of our planet? Number 1 answered. Around the world, preparations began in secret. Submarines went to sea. Fighter jets were fueled. Underground bunkers were stocked. And yet, no one could ignore the truth. If the Black Leviathan chose to attack, humanity could not stop it. Elena Vos sat alone in her small apartment, watching the latest footage. The ship had not moved for 2 days. Her phone rang. It was a number she hadn't seen in years. She answered. A voice she recognized from a past life spoke 2 words. It's time. She didn't ask questions. She didn't need to. She had served in the Navy long enough to know that tone. Within hours, she was on a military transport headed for a secure facility. She wasn't the only one. Soldiers, pilots, scientists, and engineers were arriving from all over the world. Whatever was happening, it was big. In the control room of the facility, a giant screen showed the alien warship. Its dark shape filled the image. The glowing patterns on its hull were now moving faster, shifting every hour. Some scientists said it was communication. Others thought it was targeting data. The only thing they agreed on was this: the ship was getting ready for something. As Elena stood in the room, a man in a gray suit approached her. "You've been chosen," he said. "For what?" She asked. "To go out there." Her stomach turned. She thought she had left space missions behind. She thought she was done with the dangers of deep space, but she could see it in his eyes. This was not a request. The warship remained still, silent except for the slow, deep tone that played every few hours. The whole planet waited, holding its breath. Somewhere in the dark between the planets, something was about to happen, and when it did, humanity would never be the same. The Black Leviathan hung between the planets like a dark god watching. It did not move. It did not speak. And yet, the whole planet could feel its presence. Every news channel showed the same live feed, a silent black curve against the light of distant stars, the strange blue patterns crawling over its surface like veins of light. It had been there for 6 days. The deep, slow tone it sent every few hours still echoed across the solar system, received by every radio telescope on Earth. People played it on the internet. Some said it sounded like a warning. Others said it was calling to something. No one knew the truth. In New York, at the United Nations headquarters, the air inside the Great Chamber was heavy. Every seat was filled. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, and scientists. Some looked tired. Others looked afraid. On the giant screen above them, the alien ship rotated slowly, its black surface absorbing light like a void. The Secretary General stood and spoke into the microphone. His voice was calm, but his hands trembled. "We face something humanity has never faced before. We cannot match their size. We cannot match their speed. We cannot match their technology. If this ship chooses to destroy us. He stopped. No. One needed him to finish the sentence. At the Pentagon in Washington, the top military commanders sat in a secure room. Maps of the solar system glowed on the wall. The Leviathan's position was marked with a single red icon. A general with silver hair leaned forward. We have nuclear weapons, railguns, and orbital lasers. None of them will do more than scratch that thing. We've run the simulations. In every scenario, they win. Silenced. An admiral finally spoke. Then we don't fight them. We talk to them. The general shook his head. We've been sending messages for a week. They don't answer. In London, an underground command center lit up with activity. Dozens of analysts were studying the patterns of light on the Leviathan's hull. It's a code, said Dr. Karen Holt, tapping her pen against a glowing diagram. Look, each pattern change corresponds to a new location on this map of Earth. They're scanning us, learning our geography, our cities. Targeting? A security officer asked. Or? She hesitated. They could be choosing where to land. In Moscow, a different kind of meeting was taking place. 3 men and a woman sat around a small table in a soundproof room. One of the men lit a cigarette. We've been preparing for war with each other for 100 years. And now, it doesn't matter who has the bigger army, the woman nodded. It's not about size anymore. It's about speed. We need to send something before they make their move. By the end of the day, a secret plan began to form, not in public, but in hidden rooms scattered across the world. A plan that most people would never know about until it was too late. The idea came from an unexpected place. Not from a general, not from a president, but from a scientist named Dr. Lin Wei, working in a small lab in Singapore. She pointed to a simple truth. If they are ignoring large fleets, maybe it's because they see them as a threat, so we don't send a fleet. We send one ship. One ship. Fast. Small. Unthreatening. Something that could approach without triggering an immediate attack. At first, the idea was laughed at. One ship? Said the French defense minister during a closed call. You want us to send one tiny ship to talk to an alien warship the size of a continent? Yes, Dr. Lin replied. Because one small ship might be the only thing they won't destroy on sight. The plan began to grow. They would need a ship with long-range capability. Enough speed to reach the Leviathan in days, not months. Enough shielding to survive. Whatever the alien ship could do. Most importantly, they needed a crew willing to go, knowing they might never return. In a hangar in California, under heavy guard, a sleek vessel sat hidden under white covers. It was called Resolute. It was not the largest human ship, not the strongest, but it was the fastest deep space craft ever built. It had been designed for reconnaissance beyond Pluto, fast, agile, built for speed and survival. Now, it would have a new mission. The crew selection was brutal. Every astronaut, every pilot, every engineer with deep space experience was secretly evaluated. Their records were studied. Their psychological profiles were scanned. From hundreds, they chose 6. Captain Elena Voss was one of them. When she walked into the briefing room, she recognized none of the others, 3 men. 2 women, each with the same silent look in their eyes. They were given no introductions, only sealed black folders. A stern officer spoke. You are being chosen for an operation that does not officially exist. If you succeed, humanity survives. If you fail... He paused. You won't have to worry about failure. Elena opened her folder. Inside was a single page with 4 words: approach, observe, deliver, return. She frowned. Deliver what? The officer placed a black case on the table. Your orders are inside. They will remain sealed until you reach the Leviathan. The next day, the Resolute was prepared. Fuel tanks filled. Systems checked. Shields tested. Outside the hangar, the night sky was clear. Somewhere out there, the Leviathan was still watching. Families were told lies. The crew's relatives were told they were on a long-term training mission in orbit. Only a handful of people on Earth knew the truth that 6 humans were about to fly directly toward the most dangerous object ever seen. On the launch pad, the Resolute gleamed under floodlights. Elena stood at the base of the boarding ramp, helmet under her arm. She looked up at the sky. Somewhere beyond Jupiter, the Leviathan waited. She climbed aboard without looking back. Inside mission control, dozens of screens lit up. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. The engines roared. 7, 6, 5. The Resolute trembled as power surged through its frame. 4, 3, 2. Elena took a deep breath. Launch. The ship rose on a column of fire, breaking through the clouds, cutting into the upper atmosphere. Then, with a final burst, it left the Earth behind. The crew floated in their seats as gravity loosened its grip. The planet below became a glowing marble, blue and white and fragile. Hours passed. The Earth grew smaller. The moon slipped by in silence. Beyond it, only darkness, and somewhere ahead, the Leviathan. They traveled in silence at first. Everyone was thinking the same thing. They might be flying into their own deaths, but no one said it aloud. In a secure bunker under the UN building, the Secretary General watched their progress on a glowing map. The Resolute was a tiny green dot moving slowly toward the massive red icon of the alien ship. A general leaned close. "If they attack, we won't have time to react." The Secretary General didn't look away from the screen. "Then we had better hope they don't." Back in space, the Resolute crossed the orbit of Mars. They passed old satellites, abandoned probes, pieces of human history drifting silently in the void. One of the crew, a young engineer named Malik, whispered, "Feels like we're leaving everything behind." Elena glanced at him. "We are." Behind them, the Earth kept turning. Billions of people lived their lives, unaware that the future of humanity was now in the hands of 6 people and a ship no bigger than a small house. Ahead of them, somewhere in the darkness, the Leviathan waited. And every hour it sent out that deep, slow tone, steady, unchanging, like the ticking of a clock counting down. The Resolute raced through the darkness like an arrow. Its engines whispered a low, steady hum that carried them away from Earth faster than any human ship had ever flown. Behind them, home was nothing more than a pale blue dot. Ahead, nothing but black, and somewhere in that black, the Leviathan waited. Inside the ship, the crew floated in low gravity. Every surface was clean, every corner filled with silent machinery. They had trained for deep space, but none of them had trained for this. Elena Voss sat strapped in the captain's chair, scanning the navigation display. The alien ship was still just a faint reading on their sensors, a red marker surrounded by empty space. "How far?" she asked. 5 days, Malik replied from the engineering console. His voice was calm, but his hands moved quickly over the controls. If it doesn't move, the others were quiet. No one wanted to think about what would happen if the Leviathan did move. Day 1 passed slowly. The ship's routines kept them busy: system checks, engine maintenance, trajectory corrections. But even with work to do, the silence of space pressed in. No voices from outside, no chatter from mission control. The further they went, the weaker Earth's signal became, until it was just a faint echo. On the 2nd day, they lost real-time contact completely. Now they were alone. In the mess hall, a small room with a single table, bolted to the floor. 2 of the crew sat eating in silence. Vacuum-packed meals. "No smell, no taste. Feels like we're flying into a black hole," said Dr. Patel. The mission's xenobiolog, Ista. Malik gave a dry smile. "At least black holes don't send creepy 10-second messages every few hours." And then, as if the Leviathan had heard them, The tone came again. It rolled through the ship's speakers like the voice of something ancient. Deep, slow, perfectly steady. This time, though, there was something else. A second sound barely audible hidden under the main tone. A faint clicking rhythm, too fast to be random. Patel froze. That's different. Alina joined them, listening. She didn't speak. She just stared at the table, thinking. On the third day, strange things began to happen. Malik reported that the ship's navigation system had picked up a ghost reading, something moving parallel to them, just out of range. When he tried to focus sensors on it, the reading vanished. Hours later, it appeared again. Patel suggested it could be a piece of debris, maybe an old satellite. Malik shook his head. No debris can match our speed this precisely. No one liked that answer. At night, if you could call it night in deep space, Alina sat alone in the cockpit. The stars hung motionless outside the window, cold and endless. She tried to imagine what the Leviathan's crew looked like. If it even had a crew, were they watching the Resolute right now? Did they already know the humans were coming? She didn't. Like the answers her mind gave her, on day 4, the ghost reading returned closer this time. Malik ran a scan and swore under his breath. Whatever it is, it's matching every maneuver we make. Elena ordered the ship into a short, sharp course change, a sudden drop in velocity followed by a hard turn. The ghost reading followed perfectly. That's no debris, Malik said. That's a ship. The tension on board grew heavier with every passing hour. The crew started to speak less, their conversations clipped and cautious. No one could shake the feeling that they were being escorted. Then, as suddenly as it appeared, the ghost reading vanished again. Patel stared at her console. Maybe it was just making sure we stayed on course. On course for what? Alina asked. Patel had no answer. On the morning of the 5th day, the sensors lit up. The Leviathan. It was still hundreds of thousands of kilometers away, but its size made it impossible to miss. Even at this distance, it was massive, so massive that it blocked out entire starfields behind it. The crew gathered in the cockpit. No one spoke for a long time. The first clear visual came through an hour later. The alien ship was shaped like nothing human hands had built. It had no sharp edges, no clear front or back. It was as if it had grown rather than been assembled, its black surface curving like the shell of some titanic sea creature. The glowing blue lines across its hull were brighter now, pulsing slowly. The patterns shifted, forming shapes that made no sense to human eyes. Malik whispered, "It's beautiful." Patel shook her head. "It's terrifying." Both were right. The Leviathan did not move toward them. It simply waited, hanging in the void, silent except for that deep, slow tone. The crew's orders were clear: approach, observe, deliver. And so the Resolute pressed on. At 50,000 kilometers, the alien ship filled their main display. Its surface details became clear: towering ridges, vast craters, strange vents that opened and closed like gills. The blue lines across its hull began to shift faster now, their movements almost aware. Then came the moment no one was ready for. A section of the Leviathan's surface opened. Not like a door, more like an eyelid peeling back. Beneath it was a massive circular structure, glowing faintly from within. Malik's voice cracked. "That looks like a weapon." No one moved. No one breathed. But instead of firing, the circular structure pulsed once with light, white, blinding light. When the glare faded, a corridor of energy extended out into space. It was like a bridge made of pure light, stretching toward the Resolute. Patel's voice was almost a whisper. "I think they want us to come in." Elena looked at the black case sitting beside her seat. The sealed orders. She had not opened it. Not yet. Her eyes stayed on the glowing bridge ahead. It was impossible to know if it was an invitation or a trap, but one thing was certain: whatever waited inside the Leviathan would decide the fate of every human Alive. Elena gripped the controls. The Resolute moved forward, the light of the alien bridge wrapped around them. And the darkness swallowed everything else. The light swallowed the Resolute. For a moment, the crew could see nothing, only white, endless and blinding. Then, slowly, the brightness faded. They were no longer in open space. The glowing bridge of energy had brought them into a vast chamber. Inside the Leviathan, the walls curved high above, disappearing into shadows. Everything was made of a strange black material that seemed to drink in the light, broken only by faint blue veins glowing like rivers in the dark. It was silent. Completely silent. No hum of engines, no mechanical clicks, no sound at all, except for the steady hiss of the Resolute's life support systems. Malik's voice was quiet. "I don't think this is a hangar." Patel glanced around, her brow furrowed. "It's alive." Alina looked at her. "Alive?" Patel pointed at the walls. "Watch." The black surface rippled, subtle but real, like the slow breathing of some giant creature. No one spoke after that. The Resolute drifted forward, guided by the energy bridge until it stopped in midair, held there by an invisible force. The ship floated as if anchored, but no cables or clamps touched it. The blue veins on the walls pulsed faster. Then the voice came. It was not through their radios. It was inside their heads. "Why have you come?" The words were deep, slow, and heavy like distant thunder. The crew froze. Elena felt her chest tighten. She had been ready for a message through sound waves, maybe some translation software. But this was different. This was direct. She forced herself to speak aloud, even though she knew the voice did not need sound. "We are here to deliver a message." The blue veins dimmed slightly, as if the ship itself was listening. Elena reached for the black case. Her hand shook as she entered the code to unlock it. Inside was a thin metal cylinder with a single button. "What's in it?" Malik whispered. "Not for me to know," Elena replied. "I just deliver it." She held it up. "This is from the leaders of Earth. I was told to bring it to you." The voice returned, colder this time. "Step outside your vessel." The crew exchanged glances. No one wanted to be the first to set foot on whatever surface lay beyond the Resolute. But the order was clear. Elena went first. The airlock opened. With a hiss, a ramp extended into the chamber, touching the black floor. The moment her boots met it, she felt a strange vibration, soft, rhythmic, like the beating of a distant drum. The others followed one by one, moving slowly, weapons left behind. They had been ordered to bring no arms, only the message. The floor beneath them shifted slightly, adjusting to their weight. It was warm, not cold like metal, but faintly warm, almost like skin. Patel muttered under her breath, "Definitely alive." A shape moved in the shadows ahead. Tall. Too tall. It stepped into the light. The alien was nothing like human. Imagination had drawn. Its body was long and thin, covered in a dark, smooth surface that shimmered faintly. Its arms were elongated, ending in 3 long fingers. Its head was narrow, with no visible mouth, only 2 burning silver eyes that seemed to pierce through them. It moved without sound, each step deliberate. When it stopped a few meters away, the voice returned in their minds. "You carry the message." "Yes," Elena said. She held out the metal cylinder. The alien did not take it with its hands. Instead, the cylinder floated from her grip, lifted by an invisible force, and hovered between them. The alien tilted its head slightly, as if listening to something far away. Then, the walls of the chamber came alive. Blue veins brightened, racing with light toward the ceiling. Shapes appeared along the walls, projections, but not like human screens. These were 3-dimensional visions hanging in the air. The crew gasped. They saw Earth, not just an image, an exact living replica, floating in the air, every continent and cloud moving in real time. Then the image shifted. Earth appeared smaller, and dozens of glowing red points spread across its surface. Patel's voice was tense. Those are cities. The alien turned its silver gaze back to them. We know your world. The image shifted again, this time showing ancient battlefields, burning ships, wreckage floating in space. Elena's stomach twisted. Those aren't ours. They are from the last time. No one understood at first. Malik finally spoke. Last time? You've been here before? The alien's eyes glimmered. Long before your people walked upright, we came, we left. But your kind followed us into the dark. And when we met, you attacked. Silence filled the chamber. Patel shook. Her head. That's impossible. Humanity didn't even have space travel until a century ago. The alien didn't answer. Instead, the floating cylinder clicked open on its own. A small hologram appeared, a human figure in an ancient, weathered spacesuit, holding a childlike alien in its arms. Elena stared. That's one of ours? The cunt. Alien stepped closer. One of yours. Who died saving one of ours. It is why your leaders were given the chance to speak. The crew exchanged stunned glances. None of them had known the contents of the message they carried. It was not a warning, not a plea. It was a memory, a reminder of something long forgotten. The alien's voice grew darker. We came this time to finish what began long ago, but this memory is inconvenient. Malik's voice was low. So what happens now? The alien didn't answer immediately. It seemed to study each of them in turn. Finally it spoke. We will decide. The blue veins on the walls began to dim. The floating earth faded from view. Without another word, the alien turned and walked into the shadows. The metal cylinder drifted after it, disappearing from sight. Elena's voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed the tension in her. Back to the ship. They moved quickly, boots thudding softly against the warm, living floor. The ramp of the Resolute sealed behind them with a hiss. No one spoke for a long time. Outside, the Leviathan remained still. The glowing bridge of light vanished, leaving only the endless black of the chamber around them. They had made contact, but they had no idea what the answer would be. The Resolute drifted silently in the vast, living chamber inside the Leviathan. The crew sat quietly, still absorbing everything they had just seen and heard. The weight of the alien's words pressed down on them like a heavy fog. They had come, seeking answers. Now, those answers felt heavier than they had ever imagined. Elena stared at the empty space where the alien had disappeared. Her mind raced. Why would they say we attacked first? Malik finally broke the silence. That makes no sense. Patel's eyes were fixed on the ship's glowing walls. Maybe it's true. Maybe humans are not the first in this story. Soft hum filled the chamber again. The black walls rippled once more, and the blue veins brightened. From the darkness emerged the tall alien, stepping into the light with the same slow, deliberate steps. It carried no weapons. There was no hint of anger on its face. Instead, its silver eyes held something new, a tired sadness. We come from a time long before your history books. The alien's voice echoed in their minds. Our kind watched your world grow from afar. We were explorers, guardians, but then your ancestors did something no one expected. Elena's throat tightened. What did we do? The alien's eyes seemed to look through them, past their bodies, to some distant memory. Long ago, humans reached beyond their world. They found our kind on a distant planet, a fragile world where children like those you saw in the hologram lived. The crew looked at each other. The ancient spacesuit in the hologram had belonged to a human, but what had happened between these two worlds so long ago? The first contact was peaceful, the alien continued. But fear grew. Mistrust spread like wildfire. The humans attacked. Patel shook her head. But why? Why attack those who had no desire to harm? The alien's voice lowered. Fear, jealousy, the desire for power. These feelings have been part of your kind for thousands of years. Elena clenched her fists. So this warship came to punish us for what our ancestors did. Not just to punish, the alien said. To protect. To prevent the same mistakes from happening again. Malik leaned forward. So, this mission ... is at war. The alien's gaze hardened. We came to end the cycle. To destroy the threat. Your kind poses, but your leaders sent you here. They chose to speak instead of fight. The silence returned. Each crew member felt the weight of their task. Elena finally asked, "What will happen to us now?" The alien stepped closer. "We will decide whether your kind is ready to change. Whether the sacrifice of your ancestors can lead to peace." Suddenly, the walls shifted. The glowing veins pulsed rapidly, illuminating a large three-dimensional map of Earth. But this time, the image was different. Red dots burned across continents, signs of conflict and destruction. Cities were engulfed in fire. Your world is divided. You fight each other even as greater dangers approach, the alien said. How can you claim to be ready for peace? Patel spoke quietly. We don't always fight, we also build. We learn. The alien's eyes flickered. Then prove it. A new image appeared on the wall. A small, bright dot floating near Earth. Elena recognized it immediately. That's the Resolute, she whispered. Yes, the alien replied. One ship against a dark god, your hope. Malik smiled faintly. I hope that hope is enough. The alien's voice softened. We will give you one chance to carry the message of change to your people. To remind them of the past and the cost of fear. Elena nodded slowly. We will. As the chamber's light dimmed, the alien spoke. One final time, remember this. The future is not written in stone. It depends on the choices you make, now. The Resolute was silent as the crew returned to their ship. No one spoke. No one smiled. The weight of the truth pressed heavily on their hearts. They were humanity's last hope. The Resolute drifted back through the dark chamber, the alien's words echoing in the minds of the crew. The future is not written in stone. It depends on the choices you make. Now, Elena Voss closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She had never felt so small, yet so responsible in her entire life. 6 souls, drifting in the vastness between hope and destruction. The ship hummed quietly around them as they prepared to leave the away. Leviathan. Malik broke the silence. We have to tell Earth everything, the truth, no more hiding. Patel nodded. But will they listen? Fear runs deeper than reason. Elena's voice was steady. They have to. We carry the choice now. The Resolute slowly disengaged from the alien ship's energy bridge. The black walls faded behind them, replaced by the cold emptiness of space. Outside the viewport, the Leviathan stood still, a dark, silent giant, waiting. Days passed in tense silence as the Resolute sped back toward Earth. The crew struggled with their thoughts. The truth they carried was heavier than any weapon. It was a challenge to humanity itself. On Earth, governments debated and feared. The alien warship still loomed, a threat and a mystery. But now there was hope, a chance to change course. Inside the Resolute, the crew prepared for their return. Elena gathered everyone in the small conference room. We've seen what we must face. It's not just the aliens, it's ourselves. If humanity can't choose peace, we lose everything. Malik's voice was quiet, but firm. The leaders might want to keep this secret. Control the message, but people deserve to know. Patel nodded. Truth is the first step. Without it, there can be no change. Elena looked at each of them. We have a choice. Follow orders and stay silent, or speak out and risk everything. The room fell silent. No one spoke. Suddenly, the ship's communication console beeped. Mission Control's voice crackled through the speakers. Resolute, do you copy? Earth command to Resolute. Elena's heart pounded. She stepped forward. Resolute. Here, we read you. Your ship is approaching Earth orbit. Prepare for immediate debriefing. Classified clearance level Omega. Elena looked around at her crew. We don't have much time. Whatever happens next, we must be ready. As the Resolute entered Earth's atmosphere, the world watched. News. CHANNEL's broadcast live. People waited, holding their breath. The ship landed on a secure military base. The crew was met by officials and scientists, but the room was tense, filled with suspicion. Elena stepped forward, holding the metal cylinder. The message from the aliens, she spoke clearly. We bring a warning and a chance. The aliens know our past. They want to see if we can change. Questions came fast. Are they hostile? Is Earth safe? What do they want from us? Elena answered honestly. They want peace. But only if we prove ourselves worthy. The leaders debated late into the night. Some wanted to reject the aliens, see them as enemies to destroy. Others argued for negotiation, for change. Outside, protests erupted. People demanded the truth. People demanded hope. Days passed. Elena and her crew shared what they had learned in secret meetings, in televised addresses, in quiet conversations. Slowly the world began to listen. Fear began to mix with hope. The alien warship remained silent, watching from the stars. One night, Elena stood alone outside the base. She looked up at the sky, where the Leviathan waited. Her phone buzzed. A message. It was from an unknown number. The choice is yours. Make it wisely. Elena swallowed hard. The fate of humanity was in her hands. And in the hands of every person on Earth. The end, for now,